Of course, when you see a small animal that furiously distributes blows right and left, fights off several lionesses and fights with cobras, ignoring their bites, you get respect for such a fluffy monster. He almost never goes on the defensive. If there is a lion nearby, then these are the problems of the panther, not the honey badger. Quite powerful punches and tenacious, painful bites turn an active, furious, and strong black and white beast into a real berserker. But in fact, its key feature and main advantage is in defense, not offense. The honey badger has a very high pain threshold, a strong, almost impenetrable skin, inside of which the beast can easily move due to the weak connection of skin and muscles. And he also has a tough coat, which gives additional protection and almost complete immunity to the poisons of all snakes that live in the habitat of the honey badger. The vitality of honey eaters is legendary, as is their aggression, but it was a mistake to mess with the leopard. But if you think that a leopard can cope with a honey badger only thanks to such tricks, then this is not the case. On flat ground, the spotted panther can also defeat a tenacious opponent, whose wrath even young lions fear. The ability of the honey badger, despite its modest size, to go ahead and attack more massive enemies head-on stuns many. An experienced lioness or a young lion may simply get confused and let the enemy get too close, miss a painful bite right in the muzzle. A large animal may begin to retreat, perhaps fearing that the animal is simply sick with rabies. But these techniques do not confuse the leopard. He figured out the main trick of the honey badger, and instead of twitching convulsive attempts to protect the baby from aggressive pressure, he uses his dexterity in combination with weight superiority. Thanks to the excellent control over his movements, fast reflexes, and precision of every muscle, the leopard catches the honey badger in such a way that even his resourcefulness does not help. At first, the leopard uses powerful blows with its paws. In addition, the cat also uses its limbs to hook the opponent, grab him, and hold him. And when the panther imprints the enemy to the ground, the outcome of the battle can be considered decided. It is not easy to pierce the skin of a honey badger, but a leopard does not need to do this. He strangles the enemy the same way he would strangle a gazelle, unless you need to be more careful to avoid a retaliatory bite. But as a result, the leopard deals with the enemy and eats the honey badger. In general, the leopard is famous for successfully hunting animals that are often too tough for larger predators. Here, he catches a baboon. These primates usually manage to hide in a tree from large predators. But the leopard managed to disguise itself from the watchers of the pack and attacked the enemy when he was dozing, quickly twisted its neck, and carried off the prey before the other primates realized what had happened. Agility and excellent reflexes are complemented by intelligence and cunning in this spotted panther. Thanks to the combination of such useful qualities, the leopard can break through the protection of animals that are invulnerable even to lions and hyenas. For example, a leopard can defeat a porcupine. This is a very dangerous and difficult opponent. Porcupines do not go on the defensive, but attack the enemy when they see a predator. But at the same time, the porcupine acts in an original way. He walks with his back, makes sudden movements to the sides, maneuvers, and confuses the enemy. Thanks to such tactics, few people avoid getting hit by his sharp needles. This weapon is much more insidious than it seems. The needles leave its own body easily and painlessly for the porcupine, but get stuck in the flesh of the predator. The wound is rotting, and the hunter cannot get the needle. It prevents him from hunting, causes pain, and causes blood poisoning. So a porcupine can give battle to a whole group of lionesses. But the leopard has learned to resist this tactic. An experienced predator is observant and understands that the porcupine's weapon is not directed in all directions, namely backwards. Therefore, the leopard attacks the enemy from the side of his muzzle, stuns him with a swift attack, and grabs the porcupine by the throat before he has time to use the weapons. The leopard gets a couple of needle wounds, but successfully gets them out and starts the second round. A clever cat knows how to act carefully. She owns her body at some amazing level, so every movement is honed to an inch. Gradually, she suppresses the opponent's resistance and finishes him off. This is a risky gamble because in case of a mistake, the leopard can get fatal damage. Needle thrusts can pierce the skin on the muzzle, damage the eyes, and the needles themselves can get stuck where the leopard can no longer reach them. But as a reward for the victory, the predator gets lunch. The armor doesn't help either. This leopard spotted the pangolin. The durable scales on the body of this strange and amazing beast allows it to withstand the blows of lions. As soon as the pangolin sees a threat, it curls up into a ball and turns into a small, armored ball. But the cunning leopard threw this ball into the water, and the pangolin had to open up in order not to drown. Then the predator caught the prey, grabbed it by the throat, and quickly strangled it. And here the leopard noticed a hole in which a warthog was hiding. These ungulates are able to dig deep tunnels using both their limbs and their snout. The narrow entrance provides protection from large predators, and the cleaver's fangs are able to repel the attack of not very large hunters. But the leopard uses unexpected tactics. Instead of trying to dig the warthog out of its hole, the panther digs out of the entrance. Of course, the leopard is not like messing around in the dust, but for the sake of an appetizing piglet, it can be patient. As a result, the prey is trapped in its own lair. The warthog is trying to get out, but a fast predator catches and finishes it off. Two very young leopards manage to catch the prey. The predators are no longer teenagers, and soon they will have to be separated to live alone. But for now, they're still covering for each other. A huge adult hyena, which is more than 1.5 times larger than young leopards, did not know about this. She decided to rob the cats, relying on the terrible strength of her jaws. But the leopard noticed her approach to the prey and boldly rushed into battle. He punched her in the face several times, rammed her, and started biting her. The hyena tried to respond with a dangerous bite into the opponent's paw. She could literally break the forearm of the leopard's foreleg, rendering it helpless and unable to hunt in the future. But the cat snatched the limb from the enemy's mouth, struck a few more blows, and pushed the enemy away. The hyena did not let up. He and the leopard fought fiercely, and the smaller cat struck terrible blows, but was forced to gradually retreat. The hyena thought that she would suffer a beating, but she would be able to scare off the leopard and return to the meal. However, the scavenger was wrong. While the hyena was fighting with one leopard, the second one sneaked up and stole the meat that the hyena claimed without any problems. She noticed the approach of the enemy and fled. She couldn't defeat the spotted panther, so there was no point in continuing the risky duel and getting painful blows with sharp claws on the muscle. Due to the large difference in size, the leopard has to run away from both tigers in Asia and lions in Africa. The spotted predator has little chance to resist in battle with these mighty beasts. But there is a rare and very old video where a leopard was attacked by an even larger enemy. The bear noticed the spotted cat and pounced on it, trying to tear apart the enemy with powerful blows of its clawed paws. The leopard tried to retreat, but the bear moved unexpectedly fast and managed to grab the opponent, cover him with his body, and use his claws. The bear here is about 5 times bigger than its opponent. But if the club-footed predator expected an easy victory, then only disappointment awaited him. This leopard turned out to be an incredible fighter and managed to compensate for the lack of brute force with a fierce rebuff. The leopard skillfully repelled attacks, does not allow itself to be grabbed by the throat, avoided critical damage even at super close range. And at the same time, the cat herself struck back at the bear's muzzle with frenzied aggression. The leopard used all 4 paws, grabbed with claws, hit in the eyes, bit into the sensitive nose of the enemy, and managed to force the bear to retreat. Moreover, the enraged leopard, on a wave of adrenaline-fueled courage, began to chase the enemy himself. There were people nearby who were clearly shocked by this situation. Whales should not be underestimated. They are smart enough to take revenge on their enemies. Usually, a humpback whale does not show much sympathy towards pinnipeds. But the enemy of my enemy is my friend, is that not right? This killer whale underestimated the humpback whale's hatred. Perhaps when he was young and small, he was attacked by killer whales, for example. Maybe he's avenging someone else. But whatever his motives are, the main thing here is the result. The humpback whale saves the seal from an attack by a killer whale, and at the last moment, the seal comes to the rescue. The killer whale is in shock. Apparently, this whale decided that he was Batman and would protect the inhabitants of the sea from killer whales forever, no matter who they attacked. Or maybe the whale just wants his enemy to stay hungry. In any case, the seal gets really lucky. But sperm whales especially hate killer whales. If humpback whales and blue whales catch krill, so instead of toothy jaws, they have a whalebone filtering water. Then the sperm whale hunts fish, so it has powerful jaws with a bunch of sharp teeth. Sperm whales do not unite in such large groups as killer whales, so they are often persecuted during their youth. But if the sperm whale survives the attack of killer whales, survives and grows up to its maximum size, then it will already start hunting old enemies. The weight of a sperm whale reaches about 40 tons. That is 10 times the mass of killer whales. The vendetta of these animals looks impressive and frightening at the same time. Killer whales didn't even know what kind of enemy they got in the face of a huge and impetuous sperm whale. Dimensions are not the only weapon of marine animals. Many poisonous creatures live under the water. For example, the most venomous snake on the planet is not a cobra or a black mamba at all. The Belcher's sea snake is superior to both of them combined. The venom of this reptile is so strong that its amount from one bite would be enough to stop the heart of several hundred horses. That is, the threat to a person will be the amount of poison that can fit on a needle. The venom of the Belcher snake is practically a weapon of mass destruction, to be honest. Fortunately, this snake is not a bloodthirsty maniac at all. It doesn't differ in aggression and will not bite a person except in cases of self-defense. Pretty lucky, isn't it? The Belcher snake is a marine inhabitant. Although it has no gills and breathes air, the reptile spends most of its time underwater. To swim fast, her tail becomes flat like the fin of a fish. Thanks to this feature, the Belcher snake can catch up with any fish of suitable size. This moray eel didn't know who was in front of her. Attacking Belcher snake was a big mistake. The moray eel is a dangerous, lightning-fast, and very strong fish, but one snake bite is enough for this to be its last hunt. Its diet is the reason why a meek and small snake needs such a powerful poison. The fact is that the circulatory system of fish is arranged in a fundamentally different way than a similar system of warm-blooded animals. For example, rodents, which are hunted by land snakes. Because of this difference, fish are almost insensitive to the usual toxins of snakes. So the most ordinary fish from your aquarium would probably not be impressed by the bite of a king cobra, for example. But immunity, of course, is not absolute. When the ancestors of the Belcher snake in the process of development switched to an aquatic lifestyle, instead of restructuring the toxin to hunt specifically for fish, the snake simply increased its venom 100 times. As a result, it gets an excellent weapon, suitable for hunting fish, and for self-defense from any large predator as well. The polar bear is the largest land carnivorous animal on the modern planet. According to some reports, the mass of this giant can reach half a ton. When a polar bear stands on its hind legs to attack, it towers over its prey by almost 10 feet, 3 meters, which is not only incredibly frightening, but also gives the predator a tactical advantage. And although the polar bear belongs to land animals, its life is directly connected with the sea. The Arctic area is just a huge and mostly frozen Arctic Ocean. So for most of his life, a polar bear either swims in the water or walks over the frozen sea. And the main task of this predator is to find better prey. See how this huge polar bear hunts huge sea lions? These pinnipeds weigh much more than 4 tons, that is, they surpass rhinos and hippos. Coping with such a giant is incredibly difficult. Thanks to the ability to stay on its hind legs for a long time, the polar bear is able to deliver the strongest series of blows. Even one well-aimed blow with the paw of such a giant could break the neck of a horse. If you add long claws to pure physical power, then the effect of several lightning strikes becomes honestly really destructive. To powerful blows with paws, work with its jaws is added. The bite of a polar bear is cooler than the death grip of any trap. When a polar bear finds a group of sea lions together, this is honestly just like a supermarket for him. He chooses a more sophisticated prey and swiftly attacks it before the victim has time to disappear into the water. And it is difficult to bite through or break through a very thick, fatty layer of prey and get to its vulnerable parts. But all efforts pay off for him, because such an amount of meat will be enough for a bear to last on for about several days. Usually a polar bear catches sea lions on ice floes. To catch up with them in the water, even with an excellent ability to swim, the bear really can't do this. But on ice floes, he has the advantage in a bear, and a bear, even with its monstrous dimensions, can be incredibly secretive. So just look at this ninja. He manages to sneak up on a seal with almost no cover, and this is with his weight. This is a real feat. Bears can also catch seals and sea lions directly from the holes and grab them with their curved claws. Unfortunately, due to global warming, the natural habitat of polar bears has greatly decreased. The ice retreated from the rocks and shores of the Arctic Ocean. And on it itself, the thickness of the ice is often not large enough to withstand the weight of a huge predator. He can't hunt among the rocks because the light color of the fur coat immediately gives him away. And a hungry polar bear becomes much more aggressive, including against its own kind. Just watch this intense and epic scene play out. The male decides to deal with a bear cub, and the female is inferior in size to the aggressor by about a quarter. But she is fiercely protective of her offspring. Just look at how the bear tries to win every extra second for her little baby and help him break away from the terrible pursuer. The female drops an entire snowdrift on her pursuer's head. Very clever tactics. The aggressor clearly underestimated her, hoping that brute force would give him an unambiguous advantage. But the most impressive is the duel of two males. Here, a larger predator clearly underestimated the courage of a young bear when it came to seize his hunting grounds. The animals tried to intimidate each other with a terrible roar, from which the local reindeer had already fled somewhere towards Mexico. And when both predators realized that a fight could not be avoided, they immediately began to exchange blows. This is an incredible battle in which predators use their arsenal up to 100%. They not only exchange crushing blows, aim at each other's head, body, and neck, but also brutally grab the enemy with their fangs, trying to overwhelm them. Both rise up to their hind legs, but they can also fight in the stalls, fight and try to reach the throat of the opponent. Although many large aquatic predators hunt seals and sea lions, do not underestimate them. These animals are also excellent and scary hunters in their weight category. They are incredibly agile. So much so that they can catch both large fish and penguins. The seals and sea lions are able to catch up and catch a penguin with its terrible fangs even in the open ocean. This chase on the shore looks even more intense. The penguin is doing everything to break away from the sea lion, and it seems that the enemy is not agile enough. He clumsily flippers around and tries to catch up with the bird. But if you bet on the penguin, you'd be wrong. The larger predator just looks awkward. He catches up with the victim, crushes it with his mass, and uses his jaws.